Well, in a new video, secret video, just released, journalists posing as Muslims met with two top senior executives at NPR, Ron Schiller and Betsy Liley. And Schiller is caught on camera saying this about the Tea Party.
The current Republican Party, particularly the Tea Party, is fanatically involved in people's personal lives and very fundamental Christian, and I wouldn't even call it Christian. It's this weird evangelical kind of move. The current Republican Party is not really the Republican Party. It's been hijacked by this group that is
radical, racist, Islamophobic, Tea Party people.
And not just Islamophobic, but really xenophobic. I mean, basically, they believe in sort of white, middle America, gun-toting. I mean, it's pretty scary. They're seriously based.
NPR responded by saying, "We are appalled by the comments made by Ron Schiller in the video, which are contrary to what NPR stands for." Mr. Schiller announced last week that he is leaving NPR for another job. Now, Mr. Schiller said this in a statement late tonight. "In an effort to put this unfortunate matter behind us, NPR and I have agreed that my resignation is effective today." So is NPR just washing its hands clean with Schiller's departure? Joining us now is Chief Political Correspondent for the Washington Examiner, Byron York. And Byron, he talks about the Tea Party being xenophobic, white, gun-toting, scary, seriously racist people. So now what?
This is going to have a lot of political repercussions. And the thing that made the biggest impression with Republicans on Capitol Hill was not what he said there. It's what he said about funding, federal funding for NPR, because he said on camera, in the long run, NPR would be better off without federal funding. And the Republicans who are trying to defund NPR are now going to be saying, look, one of your top executives said you'd be better off without federal funding. It's going to make a big effect in the battle over that.
Well, in his statement, I only read part of it, he also says that the statements he made are not reflective of my own beliefs. Well, whose were they? I mean, that's the most bizarre statement. I mean, now he's saying that he just talks and they aren't his own beliefs. I mean, the guys there's something seriously wrong.
Nobody's going to be buying this on Capitol Hill. They believe he was at this meeting. He didn't know who he was talking to. It was an undercover, it was a fraudulently set up meeting. There's no doubt about that. But he was speaking on behalf of NPR, and he was saying if federal funds were cut off for NPR, NPR would definitely survive. Most of its stations would survive and would ultimately be better off. That is a huge, huge endorsement, really, for what Republicans are trying to do.
And I should probably note that Ron Schiller, who is now effectively out of NPR, he is no relation to Vivian Schiller, who is the one who we heard so much of when Juan Williams got the boot.
Correct.
Or quit, or whatever happened there.
Just a coincidence. Actually, one of the things we learned in the longer video that James O'Keefe released, the raw video, is after the Juan Williams controversy, in which NPR had fired Juan for comments that he made about Muslims on Fox, Vivian Schiller, the CEO of NPR, invited a group of conservative Republicans to dinner to find out what they really thought about NPR. And she found out that a number of them said they actually listened to it. And what they concluded from that was, what NPR concluded, was that, well, if you listen to NPR, then you must support taxpayer funding for NPR. They really miscalculated, because if you talk to the Republicans who are trying to defund NPR, what they say is, look, we're not trying to kill NPR. We know that they get a lot of money from corporations, from foundations, from individuals. They'll survive and do just fine. We just think it shouldn't have taxpayer funding.
Well, you know, you said the Republicans will now use this effectively to defund any money, that the federal taxpayer money. But if I were the member of the Tea Party movement, I'd be madder than hell that my money was going to an organization that thought that I was a white, gun-toting, scary, seriously racist, you know, these horrible insults. Why? I mean, the people who are actually in the Tea Party movement, you know, I imagine they're really jazzed up tonight about this.
You will never convince conservative Republicans that that is not a widely held opinion inside NPR. Now, Vivian Schiller, the CEO, said those comments do not reflect the thinking of NPR. Conservative Republicans probably don't believe her on that, but in any event, the Tea Party people who were really quite slandered in these comments are going to be I guess, angrier than ever and support more than ever efforts to defund NPR.
I mean, NPR was created when we didn't have 80 billion news outlets and we didn't have the internet, we didn't have everything. If I were at NPR, the last thing I would be doing is insulting anybody who's buttering my bread.
That's the argument that the Republicans who want to defund NPR are making. First of all, they're saying they don't believe that any media should have direct government subsidy.
Anymore.
And the second thing is that there's so many more choices now. There is the internet. There are hundreds of cable channels of cable television. There are so many media options for people. The options that public broadcasting supplied when it first started in the 1960s are no longer needed.
Byron, thank you.
Thank you.
And right